What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Photo Finish, Scott Radio's home for motorsports in general and NASCAR in particular. I'm your host, Ben Schneider, and I'm joined once again by Matt Cole. Matt, good to see you again.
Good to see you, too.
We'll start with the big news coming out of Hendrick Motorsports. Jimmie Johnson has a sponsor for 2019 and 2020. It's Ally Bank, and they are the full season sponsor as Lowe's was, meaning they will be on the car for all 36 races. And that deal runs through 2020 as well, which is almost unprecedented in today's day and age for a sponsor to sign on for that many consecutive races and that long of a deal.
How long had this been in the works then? Or did it just kind of come?
Just kind of announced. There were some fans thinking maybe Gatorade will step up because Pepsi's had a long-term relationship with Hendrick, but it's Ally Bank. And Ally Bank actually is the old GMAC, which was a Hendrick partner from 2004 to 2007. When they pulled their sponsorship then went through a bit of a revamp as a company as Ally Bank, and now they're coming back.
So as far as Hendrick goes, there's kind of old ties there somewhat with Ally Bank and stuff, so that's why.
That might be part of the reason, but Jimmie Johnson is fully funded, so that was the reaction to that.
That's great. That's great, especially having a name like that coming back with Lowe's not, giving him the sponsorship coming into this year. There was a lot of worry and fear because it is good to have names like that.
Lowe's made that announcement in March, by the way. So it's been a long process and a long search, but Hendrick finally looked like they're set, and I don't think there was any doubt that they'd find it eventually, but Ally Bank seemed really committed.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So looking forward to seeing what happens next season. Maybe now.
This could spark the drive for an 8th championship again.
I hope so.
Yeah, so from a team gaining a sponsor to a team losing a sponsor, as we head over to IndyCar, Ed Carpenter Racing has announced, or rather Fuzzy's Vodka has announced that they're pulling their sponsorship from Ed Carpenter Racing. Fuzzy's had been the principal sponsor of a team really ever since their inception in 2012, so this is a major loss for Ed Carpenter's team. Shouldn't affect their presence on the grid next year. We still plan to run Spencer Pigot for the full season, and as usual, Ed himself will drive the ovals, and he'll have a second driver run the road and street courses. That driver will be Ed Jones, and Jones will also get a third car with a partnership with Scuderia Corsa for the Indy 500.
Okay, so again, we see, like you said, we get two guys, gaining a sponsorship, and then on the other half, you see someone else losing one. So that's pretty disappointing. I actually I wasn't aware of that.
That news just broke earlier this morning, I think, or last night. It's very recent. A little bit of a downer, I guess you could say. I guess we're not really surprised, but Robert Wickens has announced via social media that he's paralyzed from the waist down. He's in a wheelchair, and he's currently paraplegic. He's still in rehab, certainly hopes to walk again, but again, every spinal cord injury is different. His is bruised. It's not severed, so there's maybe some hope that he could regain movement in his legs, and that 6th car is open for him to return if and when he's able. Matt, what's your reaction?
Yeah, it's hard to hear that in any sport, in any walk of life. So obviously, we'll be praying for you, man. And with his athlete's mindset, I have no doubt that he'll walk again. And like you said, its spinal cord is bruised and not severed, so there's some hope there.
Yeah, well, based on how the crash looked, we're really just thankful that he's alive.
Yeah.
It was a terrible, tremendous accident. So for him to survive it, let alone, broken bones are one thing. They'll recover, they'll heal with time. But the fact that he even has a chance to walk and perhaps even race again is truly a miracle.
It is. It's incredible.
In the meantime, for Schmidt Peterson, Marcus Ericsson, who's currently a Sauber F1 driver, he'll step into the number 7 car in 2019. But he's not totally done with F1. He has a very good relationship with the Sauber team, so he's going to continue to be their reserve driver. Now, this is a similar situation to the one Alexander Rossi found himself in with Andretti Autosport and Manor Racing in 2016. Rossi made it to F1, did 5 starts in 2015. Due to the financial situation, Manor needed a couple of pay drivers, so that meant Rossi couldn't get the full season ride, but he was still a reserve driver. But if you're a young, up-and-coming driver, you want to have something that you can actually race. So he came over to IndyCar, and he just kind of went out and won the Indy 500. So I'd say it worked out for him. Second in points this year. So who knows what the future holds for Marcus Ericsson. All right, so let's get into Martinsville first. The truck race, again, I don't really have a whole lot to say about it. Johnny Sauter won. He's through to a championship round for a third consecutive year. He and his GMS team always a threat to win the championship. So it'll just be interesting at this point to see who joins them.
Yeah.
A couple of K&N drivers making their Truck Series debut, or if not their debut, second or third truck start. Not too unusual for Martinsville, given that it's a short track and a good place for those guys with a lot of short track experience to learn. So Tyler Ankrum was racing for David Gilliland's team, as he did in the K&N East Series this year, where he won the title. Tyler Dipple making a start for GMS. He'll be in that truck the rest of the season. And Chase Purdy, who drives for MDM Motorsports, primarily in the ARCA Series, was also in this race as well.
Wow.
So cool to see some young guys getting that truck experience and maybe something to build on for
moving
the next
forward.
couple of years for them moving forward. Exactly.
Absolutely.
All right, so with that out of the way, let's talk about the Cup race.
Okay, I'm ready.
Actually, let's just skip everything that happened. Let's talk about the finish, because we have a pretty exciting, wild, crazy finish that sparked very mixed reaction from drivers, teams, crew chiefs, car owners, and fans all alike.
Yeah.
So going into the final few laps, Martin Truex Jr. was running down Joey Logano and was racing him very cleanly. Had him on the outside. Truex had the inside lane, was making minimal contact, if any contact with him, just really racing him hard but fair and clean. And on the final lap, they were still side by side. Truex beat him to the line, so he led the second to last lap. And going into turn one, having the preferred lane, got Logano clear down the back straightaway. And if you haven't heard the finish yet, we'll play it for you now. This is how that all played out.
Martin Truex Jr. on the inside, looking for his first short track win, as well as a trip to Miami to try to defend his championship. The 2017 champion, will he get the bumper? Yes, he does. Here comes Logano. Logano on the inside, a drag race, they're sideways, and it's going to be Logano getting the win. And he had an opening.
So Joey Logano moved him out of the way. He didn't dump him. It was a bumping run, not a dumping run. Truex ended up still coming across the line, finishing in third place. So still a good points day for him, I guess. He's relatively safe when it comes to the cut line. Of course, he wanted to be locked in. But Matt, I want to ask you, because fans are very divided on this issue. Was this a fair move or a foul move?
To me, it looks completely fair. It was a little bump, and like you said, it wasn't a dump and run. Truex still came across in third. He came across straight, like we were talking about before. I think it was a great move. And at this point in the season, you got to be racing aggressive. You can't just, you know what I mean? It's almost similar like what we were talking about a couple weeks ago. I forget the racers that were involved there. Might have been, was it Johnson?
At the Roval?
Yes.
Yeah. Johnson Truex, yep.
Yeah. So, same thing here, Truex got Johnson last time. Or no, Johnson went.
Well, neither one got it that time.
Yes.
And again, I don't think there was that wasn't an intentional wreck or anything.
No.
It just ended up unfortunate for both of them. The third place guy actually sneaked through. Denny Hamlin actually wasn't that far behind Logano. He ended up coming home second and almost pulled off the same move.
Yeah.
Because Logano and Truex were leaning on each other coming to the start-finish line. They were sideways, and Logano edged him out.
And Arnold Jr. was interviewed earlier, and he said, "Man, Truex, you gotta start racing aggressive."
Yeah, he said
because this is the second time we've seen
racing too much like Mark Martin, who was a very clean driver, very well respected, and Dale Jr. said, "You got to race a little bit like my father." Of course, Dale Sr., the intimidator, was not afraid to rattle a few cages, as he might say.
No.
So yeah, very interesting to see the reaction there. By the way, I do want to play the clip in Spanish just because I think it's absolutely hilarious. So here's the finish from Fox Sports Latin America.
Va a salir Blanca, va a salir Blanca, sale la Blanca, entramos a la última vuelta del paperclip, cambio al frente, pasa Truex nuevo líder, ¿qué te digo papá? Aquí está Truex, va a tratar de regresar Logano, lo atacó, lo apartó, a ver
Hats off Fox Sports Latin America. That was awesome.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to start watching all the races on Fox Sports Latin America. That was electric.
Yeah, so now Joey Logano is locked in to the round of 4 of a championship round at Homestead. And it's a big rebound for him. He didn't even make the playoffs last year. Of course, his win at Richmond that should have locked him in was encumbered after his team, or his car rather, failed post-race inspection. That took the win away from him, not in the statistic, or in the stat book, I should say, but it didn't let him clinch a playoff spot, and I think that kind of hurt his team's moral uplifting, if you will.
Yeah, like morale. Yeah.
Morale, thank you.
You're welcome.
But yeah, it's nice to see him rebound. He'll have another shot at a championship this year. He made the Final Four in 2016.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to seeing what Logano can bring to the table. And we are going to move into the next segment. So, talking about the Mexican Grand Prix.
Yeah, so Max Verstappen of Red Bull Racing ended up scoring the victory. The Renault engine typically down on power, but at a track where the altitude is so high that doesn't matter as much, even though Mexico does have a really long straightaway. And that was actually one of the major talking points going into the race was the start. Red Bull locked out the front row because they have an aerodynamic advantage. They, in some ways, have the best chassis for the track as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
So Daniel Ricciardo was on pole, Max Verstappen alongside him, and then it was the Ferrari and Mercedes cars following them who are faster in a straight line. And because that run down into turn 1 in Mexico is so long, a lot of people were predicting that they'd be 3 or 4 wide heading into that first corner. It would lead to the opportunity for some carnage.
Yeah.
But Lewis Hamilton got a great start. Wasn't able to get by both the Red Bulls. He got by one of them. But Max Verstappen pretty much led the whole way. Seemed really in control of the race all throughout. So it's his second career win at Mexico, is 5th overall, I think. I'm just trying to play the numbers again in my head here. But second time in a row for Mexico for him.
Yeah, congratulations to Max Verstappen. And I know Vettel was in second. Obviously not the finish that he wanted to see.
Yeah, Vettel had to go out and win the race to keep the championship alive, and he did not, which means it doesn't matter what Lewis Hamilton did, but Lewis is now a 5-time world champion. The Mercedes men were 4th and 5th. So as I was saying last week, not a good race for them, and they still brought both cars home in the top 5.
Yeah.
Because the gap, again, is just so big.
Isn't that unbelievable?
Yep.
To walk away from something and say, oh, we didn't have a good weekend. You finished 4th and 5th. That's unbelievable, and it does show that skill gap, that we've been talking about.
Yeah, Hamilton was 4th, Bottas was 5th. So, Daniel Ricciardo, who started on pole, had a good start to his weekend and a really rotten ending to it. For the second week in a row, he retires from the race early. Made it further through the race this point. I think his mechanical failure happened with about 10 laps left, but you gotta feel for the guy.
Yeah. That's a shame. That's a shame, especially with 10 laps left coming down the home stretch, and you're thinking, it's looking good. Coming off of having difficulties in the past, there's some confidence. This is going to be different from the other races, and then you have an issue and have to retire early. It's heartbreaking to see that this is kind of the continuing story with Ricciardo. Hopefully, they can figure something out and stay away from these issues.
He's only got
forward.
2 races left at Red Bull, and I think his attitude at this point is just basically he almost doesn't even want to bother running the races. He says he hasn't had a good Sunday in a while. He doesn't even see the point of showing up. I think he's ready to move on, and he's actually headed to Renault next year, which coincidentally currently supply the engines for Red Bull. So the conspiracy theorists are having a little bit of fun with, why are his engine failures happening? Why are his reliability issues continuing to come back time and time again? Is Red Bull sabotaging him? Are they mad that he's headed off to the works team next year? I don't buy any of those. I think it's just bad luck. Renault's reliability's been down in recent years anyway.
Yeah, because if Red Bull was sabotaging one of their racers, they're only sabotaging themselves, so that doesn't make any sense to me. So hopefully the conspiracy theorists can have their fun with that, but like you said, I'm not biting the bait there.
Yeah. Good weekend for Max, though. So,
Yeah.
Best and worst possible result for Red Bull Racing coming out of Mexico this season. So, Lewis Hamilton, for the 4th time in 5 years, is a world champion.
Wow. That just goes to show his dominance and his skill, how locked in he is at this point. He's almost like equating it like with Tiger Woods. It's just he keeps winning, he keeps winning, he keeps winning. Is he gonna lose? When is he gonna lose? And everyone's chasing him. He's got a target on his back, but that doesn't seem to shake him or upset him whatsoever, and he continues to just be calm, cool, and collected.
Yeah, and without disrespecting Nico Rosberg at all, because he went out there, did what he needed to do. He won the championship. If Lewis's engine doesn't fail in Malaysia in 2016, you can make a case for him having that title as well.
Yeah.
5 world championships. He equals Juan Manuel Fangio,
That's right.
the legend who also drove for Mercedes in the 50s. And now it's just Michael Schumacher in terms of both championships, 7 to Lewis's 5, and Grand Prix victories, 91 for Michael Schumacher and 71 for Lewis Hamilton. So if you look at him averaging 10 wins a year with Mercedes being the way they've been, if they can continue to provide a car that can compete, we might see that 91 go down.
Yeah, he'll
in just
shatter
a
both
couple of
those
years.
records. Yeah, with the track that he's on, no pun intended. But yeah, he could look to break both of those records, which would be awesome to witness history.
It's crazy
in
to
our
think
lifetime.
that Schumacher's records could go because they're so impressive. He won 5 championships in a row with Ferrari from 2000 to 2004. 2002, he was on the podium every single race and was just absolutely dominating the sport of Formula One. And now Lewis, if he decides to stay long enough, if he has a competitive enough car, has an opportunity to surpass him.
And Lewis is how old? He's gonna be
Early 30s.
Okay.
33.
Yeah. So,
Which is not that old for an F1 driver. When we start getting 37, 38, that's probably when you start to fall out of your prime just because of how physical those cars are with the G-forces.
Yeah.
So I'd say he's got at least 3 to 5 solid, great years in him where he can compete at the highest level.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, moving forward, we'll be keeping an eye on him, and hopefully we'll see him make history.
Yeah. Also interesting, his teammate Valtteri Bottas is yet to win this season.
Really?
So maybe could we see something like in return for team orders that have happened earlier, like in Russia this year? That happened in 2002 in the United States when Ferrari, after having switched the cars on the finish line in Austria for Schumacher to win that race, there was some talk about whether they were trying to execute a dead heat or if Schumacher he actually did later backtrack those comments and say it was returning the favor for Austria.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll see anything. They're certainly going to be allowed to race at this point, but I'd hate to see Bottas go winless.
I know.
In a season where Lewis has been so dominant and so competitive.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I believe the same thing as you. It would be a disappointment to see him not do as well as any racer would want when you're not getting any wins. When you're not winning, it's tough, and it's especially tough, to be supportive of your teammate when he's winning so much and you're not winning at all. So I do give props to him for that, for his grace and his humility.
All right, so let's move on to the K&N Pro Series West season finale at Kern County Raceway. So all Derek Thorne needed to do to win the championship was go out and start the race.
Yep.
The fields are so short these days that by virtue of having enough points, even if something happened to him on the first lap, as long as he took the green flag and started the race, he'd have enough to have a comfortable buffer to Cole Rouse and his teammate Ryan Partridge and everybody else behind him.
Yeah.
So congratulations to Derek Kraus on scoring yet another win this season. And Matt, Hailie Deegan is Rookie of the Year.
Yeah. I'm not surprised. I knew she had it in her. I'm ecstatic. I think it's great for her. I think it opens up a lot of opportunities moving forward, having that title. So congratulations, Hailie. Congratulations to Kraus for his 3rd win. I really enjoyed watching him race too. And Thorne, he was consistent all year long. So as far as like the point gap there, I can't you can't be upset with the fact that all he had to do was just start the race to win it.
Yeah, it's Thorne's second career championship. He was also the champion in 2013 for Sunrise Ford Racing. So he's in his early 30s, actually.
Okay.
I don't know if he even wants to move up at this point, if he's content to just continue racing on the local short tracks at the K&N level. But he certainly has the talent to do it.
Yeah, yeah. And that, like you said, that's interesting looking at it from the point of that he's in his early 30s now. Time is a factor as opposed to a lot of the other racers in the K&N. I just wanted to touch upon the fact that Deegan scored her second career pole, too.
So she started on pole, led the first 26, or actually, no, she didn't lead the first 26 laps. She led the first 3 laps, then Kraus had the lead until lap 20. She got it back to lap 43, and then it was pretty much Kraus all the way through. Thorne led lap 105, according to Racing Reference, so I think he was up there battling for the lead and just happened to get Derek. Derek happened to get Derek at the line. Thorne getting Kraus, that is. But yeah, pretty much Kraus had this one pretty much sealed up
in the bag
all the way through.
And
So,
it's cool to see that he was still competitive in this race. He didn't just sit back and turtle and cruise. The fact that he was running up in the top 3, and like you said, he led lap 105. That's pretty amazing. It speaks to his character, and it speaks to his ambition.
Yeah, also want to give special mention to Ryan Partridge, who came home second. Also second in the point standings, 27 back. Cole Rouse third in the point standings, 29 back. And Kraus and Deegan right behind him. Also, nod to Trevor Huddleston, matching his season best of third place. He was right behind Deegan in the points, and that was the battle for Rookie of the Year there.
Okay. So yeah, there was even a tight race for that as far as Rookie of the Year goes.
So Huddleston didn't win this year, and considering Derek Thorne was in the top 5 all but one race, I think it's always too early to give up on somebody after the first year. You know, they're still learning and still in that development stage. But I would say Huddleston probably needs to go out and win a couple races next year, assuming he's back with Sunrise Ford. Of course, deals at this level usually aren't announced until some point in the offseason.
Mm-hmm.
So on that note, Matt, you're a big Deegan fan, obviously. What do you think she should do next season?
My personal opinion, and this might be biased, but I would love to see her race K&N West and East. I want to see her race both in the West and the East.
And she could do that for Bill McAnally Racing, even though McAnally's been a staple of the West. He has fielded a full-season car in the East in the past, most recently for Todd Gilliland, who went for both championships in 2017, got the West Championship. Had he not hit the wall at Dover in the season finale, might have gotten the East Championship as well.
Yeah.
So he had a competitive car for every K&N race that year.
And I think she's still young. You still need more experience, more development. So I would like to see her run both in the East and West. And obviously, her father has a lot of experience with racing. And while he's, still young, I know that he'll be influential in helping her make a decision there. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I personally would not mind her going to run a few ARCA races with Venturini.
True.
Just to get some variety in the tracks and some further experience there. And again, any seat time is good for any driver at this development stage at this point.
True.
And if she wanted to, I'd like to see her run the truck race at Eldora.
Okay.
Just because she grew up on dirt, that's the terrain that she's most comfortable with. That would be a good opportunity for her to get a feel for what a truck races like, drives like, feels like, without having the pressure of points or anything.
Yeah.
And if that goes well, maybe fall Martinsville, which is a short track. She's run a lot of those, obviously. That'd probably be the best place for her to run any additional races. But definitely don't want her doing a full season of trucks yet. She's actually not even old enough to do a full season of trucks yet because of you have to be 18 to run the tracks longer in length. So that's what Todd Gilliland did this year. Starting out running a couple K&N races at the beginning of the year, and then once he turned 18, full-time in the trucks.
Yeah, and like you said, seeing that experience is good. I didn't really think about that, and if she's getting experience in the trucks, in the ARCA, not really having to focus too much on the points or anything like that, she still might surprise everyone, which I have no doubt she has the ability to do. But getting that experience, getting that feel will be really instrumental in her moving forward with her racing career.
All right, so that's going to be it for this edition of the Photo Finish. Next week, all 3 NASCAR series are in Texas, so we'll cover all of those races in detail, and of course, the news that breaks in the next 168 hours. So stay tuned now for the Common Collision right here on Scott Radio with Robert Gonzalez and Matt Lewis. For Matt Cole, I'm Ben Schneider, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Take it easy.